Hi, hope you've already seen my TV and movie collection musical tour. I'll link that down below if you haven't. Well, this is a sort of deep dive through it, but not my traditional sort of deep dive. Anyway, from the outset, I'd like to say I'm very proud of my TV and movie collection. I put a lot of work into getting each car as close as I could, and credit here to Digital Car Addict because a few, probably about 7 or 8 of the cars in here, I actually refined the builds or even took the builds from his channel, and I especially enjoyed the ones he did with Craig Lieberman, who was involved in the Fast and Furious, because that's helped with the 3 Paul Walker cars in here tremendously. Now I separated this from the main garage tour for 2 reasons. Number one, the main tour had 300 cars in without this. I think it was long enough anyway. And secondly, I'm afraid I'm getting a little bit bored, a little bit jaded is perhaps the best word, with movie car builds. The reason is that the bulk of them are predictable. They can be well done and we can enjoy them, but we've seen them before, we've built them before. On the whole, I don't want to spend ages with photos of the real car and talking about my inspiration. You know all of that. Now, what I want to do is very quickly say whether the car is a hit or a miss in my book, and very briefly as to why, and I'm only keeping the hits. I love having a General Lee. I love my memories of that very amusing show all that time ago. But at the end of the day, yes, it is a bit too predictable. Now, my battered General Lee, a wrecked stunt car, this is totally different. I've done both a short and a long on this, and it gets a lot of good response because, of course, it is an homage to the 300 cars that died in making it. So I think this means a lot more to me, in fact, than the Immaculate one. And on top of that, it's much easier to build as well. No special emblems, no special crew colours are needed. I think this is really great. This is definitely a hit. On to Jess's car from Breaking Bad. This was a DCA build. Looks really, really good. Even got the correct number plate. But I bet you hundreds, if not thousands of people have done this. And for that reason only, it's a miss. Same deal really with the A-Team van. Again, in my youth, I used to enjoy watching that. But how many people have built this as the A-Team van? I can't imagine. So it's another miss. Now, of course, if you want a stupid fun car in the game, one that can find a swimming pool from just about anywhere, you want the Scramjet. And it's a cautious hit from me. Cautious because I have to keep it. I can't really do it up as anything else. There's no choice, and I don't want to get rid of it. Not quite the same deal with the next one. Obviously, it's a hit and a fun machine to have, but there is something else you can make as well as Street Hawk, which is what I've now made it into. I think Street Hawk was maybe a bit too predictable, so for this sort of collection at least, it's a miss. Now the next one is a simple build on a car I took from the street, but it's a hit. And you know why? I've never seen anybody else make Tony Soprano's Chevrolet Suburban. And it's come out looking really good. It looks very much like the real thing. It's got novelty. It's a hit. I love Mr. Bean. I love Mr. Bean's Mini. I love Rowan Atkinson. All fantastic. The car could still have been a miss on predictability, except that I made up this crew colour and I spent a long time getting it because nowhere, not even on the DCA channel, could I get the correct colour. I've got quite a successful short out with the colour on there. I'll leave it here for you now. But that alone, for me, makes it a hit. Tulip's car, called the Tulip, done up as Tulip's car. It's just too predictable. That has got to be a miss. I've already redone it as something else. All the 4 Bond cars are a miss, of course. They're far too popular. The DB5 is now a classic DB5. And the Esprit here I've made simply into a classic Esprit Series 1. Moving on to the Jaguar, you can make the blue one or the orange one. They're very popular. I've actually made the prototype here. And on to the last one. Well, that's going to be revealed in a different project at some point. This one's a miss, partly because the gold colour only really works indoors, being a certain yellow over chrome, but also because I have 3 Night Sharks. They were on the most ridiculous sale many, many years ago, and I put them in different locations. I really don't need them, and I think one of them has to go, and it might be this one. The Batmobile, what can we do? We have to make it a hit. We have to keep it in our collection because there's literally nothing else that we can do with the car. So reluctant hit on that. This could almost be a hit because I've never seen anybody else make the Days of Thunder one. However, ultimately it's a miss. It went in here because I had to do a last minute jiggle of the collection when the Ever On Hot Ring came out, and that is the only reason it's here. It'll probably go back into a racing collection, so unfortunately a miss for that one. Of course, this one's a miss. Fed up of calling it the Back to the Future car, it can go in a classic collection as a DeLorean. And the Plymouth Fury is Christine. It's just been too overdone, and I know the build's nice and I know the number plate is good, but it's already been rebuilt. It's a miss. We go up into the last of the movie collections now and see if we can rescue one or two cars from there. Well, the Ellie is Eleanor. I think this is a really good build for Eleanor, but it's a miss due to predictability, already rebuilt. The Bullet Mustang, I know this is a DCA build. It looks lovely. I mean, I really, really like this one. But again, there is that predictability. I'd build it as something else now that you'll see in another collection. So it's a miss for here. And then on down to the AMC Pacer from Wayne's World. That was a DCA build. I just think they're daft looking cars in real life. I think it's a daft looking car in here. I wasn't even a huge fan of Wayne's World. And it's predictable. You buy the car to put the build on. I bought the car to put the build on. I did this movie tour and I've sold it. So that's a definite miss. The Shitaro from me will get a cautious hit to remain in a movie collection because I really don't see what else I can do with it. And at least I managed to make it orange like Clue's one. Don't ask me who Clue is. I haven't got a clue. But I haven't seen the movie for a long time. So that was a Google colouring for that. Moving on to the Mustang from Death Race. Well, I got this from the DCA site. Then I went and watched the movie, a bit of a B movie, I think it's fair to say, but a bit of fun. Then I built it. I changed the wheels and I think something else as well that I thought made it look more accurate than the DCA build. I think it's great fun to drive around, and of course you can drop the tombstone off the back. Now, there's literally nothing else I can do with this car, and I think it's a bit too much fun to get rid of. So I think it's at least a cautious hit from me. I bought the next two vehicles especially for the collection, so that was about 6 million gone. The XB-GT from Mad Max. I love this. I don't think it's the best muscle car going, but I think it looks really, really good. I enjoy it. I'm keeping it beyond here, but it's been built as a different version of the XB-GT. So too predictable, unfortunately, to stay in a movie collection, but I do like it. Onto the Cerberus now. As I say, bought especially for this, customised as best I could. It's not that much like the War Rig in many ways. And then sold. I don't do Arena War. I got into the game seriously in 2018 and it was already dying out again at that point. I just don't see the need for it, even though it does fill a dedicated space there. And then, of course, to finish off, we have my memorial, if you like, to Paul Walker, the 3 cars from Fast and Furious. As mentioned, they're from the DCA/Craig Lieberman series, which I highly recommend. It's very amusing. Craig has quite a dry but amusing way of talking about some of the stuff from the movies. So I love the cars. I think they drive great. And I know that they are incredibly predictable. But I think the link with the movies, the link with Paul Walker, I want to keep these ones anyway. Well, that is the main part of the collection in the Arena workshop, and by a lucky fluke, it's 10 that I want to keep, so that's great. They'll all go in one garage somewhere for me to look at now and again. We also have 4 more in this horrible special vehicle warehouse. Of course, you can only keep the vehicles in here, and you can't put them anywhere else, so I'll keep the lot. But the Phantom Wedge is an absolute hit for use in setups and for general fun. It is, of course, based loosely on the Mythbusters wedge truck. Moving on to the what's almost an exact copy of the Mongo truck from Fast 5, the Wastelander. I think I just bought it because it was on sale and I drove it once and I don't really see why I've got it. It's just a miss for me, but it will live there. Of course, the ramp buggy is a massive hit in more ways than one. What a brilliant fun vehicle, highly recommended, even though you do have to store it down here. And if you like Fast and Furious 6, even better. And of course, if you're old and you remember watching Knight Rider, well, this is a hit 20 times over, despite the ridiculous cost, which I think has been lowered since. I'm sure this could be made up as some other form of Firebird, but there really isn't any point because you can only store it down here, which is so sad. Anyway, I promised last week that this week's would only be a 10-minute video despite 32 cars. We're just hitting 10 minutes now, so I've pretty well made that. So if nothing else, if I could have a like for that, that would be superb. And if you like real cars and having them portrayed in GTA, then please do consider a subscription to this channel, because that is what 99% of my videos are all about. So we bring this video to a close by letting the General and Daisy have one last jump. Thank you so much for watching.